Greetings YouTube, I'm the Toon Critic, keeping it totally tuned for your viewing entertainment. I'm here to review anything Toon related, whether it be movies, cartoon series, video games, commercials, whatever keeps within the realm of cartoons. And today I'll be looking at a little underrated game trilogy on the PlayStation 2 that many of you may have overlooked. Imagine, if you will, what would happen if you took Splinter Cell, turned it into a cartoon with arcade-style elements about a raccoon thief. That nicely sums up the cel-shaded stealth trilogy known as Sly Cooper. I won't be doing this alone, however, as I have a special guest with me, the one and only Master of Insanity, Train Lover 476.
What is up, YouTube, babies?
Thanks for being a guest, man. I know cartoons are your thing, and this being your first game review, I'm sure this is going to be insanely hilarious.
So, how's this gonna work?
Glad you asked. When reviewing a game, a critic must observe the following aspects for a game: gameplay, story and characters, graphics and music, and finally overall presentation.
How do you spell overall presentation?
Alright, let's start with a little backstory. The Sly Cooper series was created by an independent game company called Sucker Punch, who you might know from their latest game, Infamous, on the PS3. Back in 2000, Sucker Punch signed a deal with Sony to make their second platformer game, their first being Rocket Robot on Wheels for the Nintendo 64. It took some time, but on September 23rd, 2002, Sly Cooper and the Thevious Racoonus made its debut on the good old PlayStation 2.
Don't expect these to be full-length reviews. They are not professionals.
So let's not waste any time, shall we? This is our review of the Sly Cooper trilogy, starting with Sly Cooper and the Thevious Racoonus. Sly Cooper is your standard 3D platformer that joins the long list of talking furry heroes with attitude. You'll start out each stage of the game with a brief introductory level that leads you to the hub level for the wet world. Each world has 7 different levels with different objectives, culminating in getting a treasure key at the end of the level. It's basic enough, but believe me, it can get a little repetitive.
Getting the first key is easy enough, but then the variety kicks in with a few different twists, such as shooting on a hovercraft and twisting. That would be fun if the controls weren't half broken for them.
For example, in one of the earlier levels, you were underwater in a little submarine. But anyway, you had to use the left analog stick to move, but the right analog stick to fire in different directions. Believe me, when things get frantic, trying to keep up with the odd controls is going to be tough. But other than that, for everything else, the controls are spot on. All of your power-ups and skills required can be accessed via the triangle or circle button. Now, back to the point.
He said point.
By getting 7 keys, you get to fight the world boss. From then on until the final level, it's a lush, detailed, linear style. You never really get lost or have trouble figuring out what to do next because the path ahead is usually clear. Go into the hub, get to the end of each of the 7 levels, grab the key, beat the boss, rinse and repeat.
Do not think that this is gonna be easy throughout. Having 1 life point can be a pain, but you're given a maximum of 3 thanks to the lucky horseshoes!
Ha! And they say horseshoes are only good for smacking people in the noggin.
Weird, I always just keep a pair of lucky horse's feet. At least it's fair, because all it takes is 1 shot to knock the shtick off a baddie's face. The game throws a few stealth situations at you, but this is limited to merely avoiding laser beams, spotlights, and alarmed floor panels.
For me, the gameplay style reminds me a lot of other classic platformers like Sonic, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, among others. Everything responds well for the controls, and once you get the groove of skillfully dodging enemies and leaping around like Jackie Chan, the game becomes very enjoyable. Thankfully though, there are a few other objectives in the level to make them not as boring, which is what me hates.
Each level has a collection of bottles hidden throughout. Once you collect all the bottles, you can open that level's vault and retrieve a missing page of the Thevious Racoonus. Each new page gives you a new ability, such as slowing down time, using your hat as an explosive, creating duplicates, and among other funny and creative gadgets. They're cool and all, but you don't need all of them to win the game. You just need all of them to feel that sense of accomplishment.
But then there are the time attack segments. At one point, the game will be done, and in order to get 100%, you need to complete these as well. All this really seems to do is draw out the game, and when the fun starts to become a chore, you really wonder if the reward at the end will be enough. Sadly, all you get is concept art and commentaries, so for me it's not really worth the reward.
The story begins in Old Gallipoli, as you control the main protagonist, a raccoon named Sly Cooper, as he attempts to break into Interpol to steal a file from his rival love interest, Carmelita Fox.
After narrowly escaping, we get a nice anime-style cutscene explaining the story.
Once again, my gang and I had given Inspector Carmelita Fox the slip. I was surprised to see how well she took it. Finally, the secret police file I'd been searching for all these years. With this, I could avenge my family and regain possession of our most valued treasure. It all began when I was just a kid, bouncing on my father's knee. You see, I come from a long line of master thieves who kept all their secrets of sneaking and stealing in an ancient book. The Thevious Racoonus. Anyone who read it learned to be especially sneaky, which is why we specialize in stealing from criminals. After all, there's no honor, no challenge, no fun stealing from ordinary people. You rip off a master criminal, and you know you're a master thief. Well, on the night I was supposed to inherit the book, 5 visitors came unannounced to our door. My father fought to protect us, but the gang of villains known as the Fiendish Five overpowered him and ransacked our house until they found the Thevious Racoonus. Our family's manual of thieving greatness fell into their filthy hands. They tore the book into 5 pieces and split it up, each villain disappearing to the farthest corners of the world to commit dastardly crimes. Broken alone, I was dumped at the town orphanage. There I met 2 guys who became my lifelong buddies and trusted crew. Bentley, techno genius and strategist supreme, and Murray, part-time driver and full-time burden. Together we pledged to track down the Fiendish Five, avenge my father, and steal back the Thevious Racoonus. I knew I was about to face the toughest test of my life. On this mission, I would either become a master thief like my ancestors before me, or fail and allow my family name to bite the dust.
The story for the first game in my mind, even though it's short, manages to deliver a solid base for the games to come. From then on, Sly travels to various locations in search of the missing pages, defeating Sir Raleigh, the genetic freak Mugshot, the voodoo princess Miss Ruby, the pyromaniac Panda King, and finally arriving in Russia to face off with the leader of the Fiendish Five, Clockwork. The final world is a gauntlet of level after level, which is what I'll focus on, seeing as how the story doesn't kick in until then. You rescue Carmelita from her cell, only to be sealed away in the cell with her to be gassed to death. Thankfully, Bentley saves you with some clever hacking. After saving his main squeeze, Sly offers a truce in order to capture Clockwork.
I don't get it, Cooper. I've hunted you for years, tried to throw you behind bars, but when you get a chance to leave me in a cage, you set me free. Why?
Carmelita, we may be on opposite sides of the law, but you're not my enemy. Now, the homicidal robotic owl that built this death ray and nearly gassed us to death, that guy's on my list.
Retrieving his cane and managing to cause the death ray to start sinking, Sly climbs the sinking death ray to retrieve Carmelita's jetpack. Now the final battle begins. We learn from Clockwork that not only has he managed to murder your father in cold blood, but he is responsible for wiping out every single Cooper throughout history. That means that Clockwork managed to keep himself alive for hundreds of years through the whole Darth Vader process, replacing his living body parts with cold, heartless machinery, hell-bent on wiping out the entire family. I don't know about you, but that is the sign of a true villain. After a tedious boss fight, Sly defeats Clockwork, and the peasants rejoice! Yay! Then Carmelita has to come in and ruin the fun, though she does give you a 10-second head start. Though Sly, well, takes a different route.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. felt bad leaving her stranded on that giant rock, but I knew it wouldn't be long before we'd see each other again.
Let's talk characters then, shall we? Sly's character, as we all know. He's smooth, suave. Many would call him a gentleman thief. You don't see a lot of those now, do ya?
Sly's voice personally fits him the best, though to be honest, he comes off as a bit too cocky.
You're not gonna tell me I have to shoot myself out of that cannon.
I'm afraid that's the only way.
Now you're talking.
You're really scaring me, man.
Interesting. So when are you gonna get to the impossible part?
Fine, but I warned you.
There isn't that much character development within this game due to its, well, its short length.
You are aided in your quest for revenge by your two teammates, Bentley the Turtle and Murray the Hippo.
Bentley's character is kind of bland, the typical nerd of the group. He comes off as annoying, but like most nerds, he's not completely useless. He himself isn't given much development in this game other than just a tip giver.
Can I just say, Bentley's voice is way too nerdy. I know he's like the brains of the whole thing, but you didn't have to give him that kind of voice.
Yuck, these rooftops are filthy. Sly, see that machine wheel? If my knowledge of mechanical engineering serves me right, applying significant rotational torque to achieve maximum velocity will yield a positive result.
You mean something good might happen if I can get the wheel to spin fast enough?
Isn't that what I just said? Oh my god, the green waterfall overflows! Nerd!
Murray is your basic cookie cutter big dude. Not very bright, has a big appetite, and can brawl with the best of them, though in this game you spend most of the time protecting him as he makes a run for a treasure key. You also control him in the team van and races against local gangs for keys as well.
Then we come to Inspector Carmelita Fox. Hello, Fox Lady! She plays the main love interest for Sly. Her character is solid, in that she is hell-bent on capturing Sly and ultimately rejects Sly's attempts to flirt at her.
Well, look who just walked into my crosshairs. Sly Cooper.
About time you showed up, Miss Fox. I was getting worried about you. Thought you took a wrong turn somewhere back in Paris.
The only one making wrong turns is you, Sly. I'd suggest you surrender before I paralyze you with my good friend, the shock pistol.
Now see, a girl whose best friend's a firearm's got issues. A little dinner, a little dancing. I think I can help you out.
Sounds romantic. As long as you don't mind dining in jail.
Nah, I hear the service is lousy.
Once I catch you, you'll know for yourself.
Ouch! You just got iced! Yet, she is willing to put aside personal differences later for greater justice. Oh, and did we mention that for each game she changes accents? I don't get it!
I love the dialogue between them though. It helps set a foundation for the future games.
Freeze, raccoon!
How can I freeze when my heart warms at the very sight of you?
The dialogue is funny and witty at times, and Sly's smooth, suave narration before each level helps set the tone. Some of the dialogue in the game is funny, though it does come off as a little hokey.
Why would Raleigh want bad weather at his own hideout 24/7?
Beats me. But rain or shine, I'm gonna steal my family's book back. And if Raleigh gets in my way, it's on.
There were some good moments as well. Whether it's Sly and Carmelita's flirting, or Sly and Bentley's little scuffles. I give credit to the writers for making the story both enjoyable and witty.
If there's one thing I really like about this game, it's gotta be the graphics. It has an amazing sense of cartoonish style to its design, especially in some of the anime cutscenes. It's a great addition to the list of cel-shaded classics, such as Street Fighter IV, The New Prince of Persia, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Beautiful Joe.
Hey, just like one of my other favorite games! Ding!
Plus, since there isn't any glitchy camera angle problems, it makes navigation around the levels much easier. I like how a few of the levels are themed after their respective bosses. For example, when you visit mugshot stages, it feels like a ghost town version of Las Vegas, with gangster dogs patrolling the casinos. Each level theme fits well with the graphics engine and the cel shading, making it look even better.
As for the music, the soundtrack is alright. It uses a dynamic music system that changes depending on the state of alarm in the area. The music will increase in volume and pacing when Sly attacks or is detected, and then will quiet down as the disturbance goes away. The tracks fade in and out or interactively depending on what you're doing, which makes it feel like you're a part of the game. but to me, it still can't beat the smooth, jazzy rhythms of Sam and Max. Ding!
So what else can be said about the first Sly Cooper game? On the plus side, the story works, the graphics are really impressive, and the gameplay is a lot of fun, even if it isn't all that difficult.
On the negative side, well, it's too short! You start getting into the groove thing, and in a few days, poof, you're done! Game over! Do not pass go! Do not collect $100! I should probably stop playing Monopoly. Even after you beat the final boss, collect all the bottles, and Master Thief sprints, it feels like there could have been much more! Much more, I says. Much more! Much more!
Would we recommend it? Well, it's worth a good rental for sure, or used off of Amazon.com, and it's fun to put in every once in a while, but normal gamers might be turned off due to its easy learning curve and short replay value, which amounts to, say, 3 to 4 hours. Even though sales of the game were poor, you can't really blame them. The game's release was overshadowed that year by other great platformers, like Ratchet & Clank and Jak and Daxter, the precursor Legacy. Personally, the game feels like an experiment, similar to Jak and Daxter with slight differences. As you see, the first game and the second game are completely different from one another almost, in terms of style. I'm sure the developers made this game as a test to see whether or not the series will be good. Obviously, we already know the answer, so join us next time when we sneak into action with Sly 2: Band of Thieves.